Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And, this is so much fun. The fave in question is Rachmaninoff's Third Symphony. And it's the one that everybody thinks is sort of the least of them because it's a late work and because it has a finale that's really problematic. Let's face it, the finale is problematic. It can die. It needs to be kept moving. But, it really is beautiful, and it's full of interesting new sounds that he was starting to work on, as with the symphonic dances, which it's often coupled with. It makes a very good coupling, actually, the two works, except that the symphonic dances is such a flaming masterpiece that it can make the Third Symphony sound a little bit, have an inferiority complex next to it. So both performances have to be really, really good. And there are many decent performances of the third, but I've worked really hard trying to figure out which one I was going to pick. And at the end of the day, excuse me, I have an itch there, the result may surprise you. It surprised me. It's this one, but maybe it's not surprising. Seraphim, remember Seraphim, EMI, our Angels budget label? It's the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic with Charles Mackerras. Of course, Charles Mackerras, the guy who never made a bad record to save his life, and most of the time made fabulous records. Charles Mackerras was such a great conductor, and the wonderful thing about him was that he was just effortlessly musical. In other words, he always managed to emphasize those musical values of any work that show it in the best light. So in this case, we're talking about color, we're talking about melody, we're talking about rhythm, and he understood the need to keep things moving. He didn't wallow, he didn't make you crazy with self-indulgent nonsense, which happens a lot with Rachmaninoff. It does, because he's romantic and he writes those beautiful, lush melodies. And there's this tendency to just play the hell out of the beautiful, lush melodies, and then you don't know what you're going to do the rest of the time. And this particular disc contains a fabulous version of the symphonic dances, and really one of the best versions of the Third Symphony I've ever heard, maybe the best. It has, first of all, he takes the exposition repeat in the first movement, and then both the slow movement and finale flow absolutely magnificently. The playing is terrific. The sonics are terrific. It's absolutely amazing. Simply amazing. And the most amazing thing about it, as I've said, is the finale. It's got to be the finale. Because, you wish that finale would get going. You really do. It's like, come on, give me a tune, get going. It's a problem. It really is not Rachmaninoff's strongest music. Let's face it. And the other issue with this symphony, all of Rachmaninoff's symphonies have a motto theme. And in the first symphony, it's the Dies Irae, basically. Da, 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 da. That's the motto. And it appears in the beginning of every movement. It's very clear how he treats the motto, and its transmutations are very clear. In the second symphony, the motto is da, da, do, 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 do. It's that grindy bass theme at the beginning. And then, the woodwinds coming with yada, yada, da, 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 da. That's the motto. And you hear that in every movement, and it's also pretty clear. Even at the very end, with the big chorale and the brass, ba, ba, da, 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 dum, bum, bum, it's the motto transformed into its heroic form, like at the end of Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Well, this symphony also has a motto right at the beginning, but it's almost impossible to nail it down because it's really just like a little two-note squiggle. It's just this sort of that's sort of the motto. It's so innocuous and musically insubstantial. I mean, it's a good thing in a way because you can do anything with it, and you don't have to worry about it, essentially. I mean, the first movement begins and ends with it. You can hear it maybe a little in the slow movement. I guess the opening, the finale is sort of like that, but it doesn't it doesn't grow on repetition particularly well. And it's not an obvious unifying factor in the symphony, so there isn't much need to like deal with it. But Rachmaninoff does deal with it, of course, and it can leave you like going, what's going on here? So you just ignore it. That's the best way to do it, and the best way to do it is what Mackerras does, which he plays it the way it's written, and of course, then he pays attention to everything else, which is so much more fun. I mean, because there's a lot of really good music in this symphony, and you just have to focus on each part and show it in its best possible light. And that's exactly what Mackerras does here in these performances. They're wonderful. If you can still find them, I don't even know. I haven't a clue. You know, Mackerras did so much stuff for so many labels, and each label that he worked for owes him a box. For sure, Warner owes him a big box. And Archive, all the Handel and all that stuff, owes him a big box. And Telarc owes him a big box. And he did stuff that was on, ASV or Conifer or something, whoever owns that now. I mean, just get it all together, guys, and put it out there. He was one of the great geniuses of the 20th century, and nowhere more so than when he moves outside of his Fach. You don't think of him in connection with Rachmaninoff. You don't think of him in connection with Mahler, but he did fabulous Mahlers 1 and 5. He did great Rachmaninoff 3 and symphonic dances. He could do anything and do it really, really well and really enjoyably and naturally. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.